Ever get that feeling? Like someone's watching your every click online. Gives you the shivers, right? Well, today's deep dive is all about that feeling and a network designed to fight back. Tor. Now, if you're picturing spies and secret agents, you're not far off. Tor is all about anonymity online. Think of it like this. It's like creating a super secret route for your data, making it almost impossible to trace back to you. Imagine your data's on a journey, but instead of a straight shot, it's bouncing around, getting scrambled at each stop. And each stop, that's a volunteer-run server, adding layers of encryption like an onion. And get this, the case we're diving into today, it really throws a wrench into the whole Tor means total anonymity thing. We're talking German police taking down a massive dark web forum in a boy town, like hundreds of thousands of users, illegal activities, works.
And that's what's so fascinating about this case. It really sort of shatters the myth that, you need to be some kind of tech genius to navigate these networks or dismantle them for that matter. This involved international cooperation, vulnerabilities within the system itself. Honestly, some of the tactics they used wouldn't be out of place in a Mission Impossible movie.
Right. So how does something as complex as seemingly secure as Tor, with all these layers upon layers of encryption, suddenly become vulnerable? How did the German police go from zero to taking down this massive online operation? Well, it all circles back to those volunteer-run servers, those nodes in the onion. Turns out they're both a strength and a weakness.
Exactly. See, the fact that Tor relies on volunteers means it's incredibly decentralized. It's not all housed in one place, so it's much harder to just, boom, take it down. But, and this is a big but, it also means you're placing a lot of trust in, well, a network of unknowns. Over 66% of these nodes, they're in countries that are part of the 14 Eyes Alliance.
Okay, pause for a second. For those of us who haven't memorized every international surveillance agreement out there, what exactly are the 14 Eyes?
So the 14 Eyes, it's basically an intelligence alliance. We're talking countries like the US, the UK, Canada, Australia.
Yeah.
And yes, Germany.
Yeah.
Essentially, they share intelligence data. So you might think your data is bouncing around securely, but what if one of those bounces lands right in the hands of, say, an intelligence agency? Makes you think. Right.
Absolutely. So we've got this network designed for anonymity, but with this potential backdoor built right in. And that brings us to Boytown, which really throws a wrench into the whole idea of if you use Tor, you're invisible. So we've got this network, Tor, designed for anonymity, but with some built-in vulnerabilities. And that brings us to Boytown. This wasn't some small-time operation, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Boytown was massive. A huge online forum, hundreds of thousands of users, and they were engaged in all sorts of illegal activities.
Like what? Give us a sense of the scale.
Drugs, weapons, you name it. It was probably being traded there. And the German police, they knew it was happening. They were watching, waiting for the right moment to make their move.
And they managed to infiltrate the forum's private chats, too. That blows my mind a little. How do you even begin to unravel something like that?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The method they used is called a guard discovery attack. And it's a bit like, imagine trying to find the right key for a lock, but you've got this giant key ring, hundreds, even thousands of keys.
Okay.
You go through them one by one, testing each key until you find the one that unlocks the door. That's essentially what the police did. They bombarded the Boytown server with tons of connections, trying different routes until they pinpointed the server's entry point, its guard node. And once they had that, they could start tracing it back to its physical location, eventually leading them to the people running it.
So even with all of Tor's layers, finding that one entry point can unravel the whole thing.
It can.
Yeah.
Especially if the people running the server aren't using all of the security features Tor has to offer. Remember that Vanguard add-on I mentioned?
Right, to make the guard nodes harder to find.
Exactly. That's designed to make guard discovery attacks much harder to pull off. But Boytown, they weren't using it. They also made some crucial errors in how they configured their secure chat service.
So they basically handed the keys to the police.
In a way, yes. And this is the crucial takeaway here. It's not enough to simply use a tool like Tor. You have to understand how it works, its strengths, its limitations, and most importantly, you have to use it correctly.
It makes you think twice about what you do online, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, if Boytown, with all its supposed sophistication, could be taken down, what does that mean for the average person using Tor? Should we all be worried? So after a story like that, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of ready to ditch the internet altogether and become a hermit.
Right. It's understandable to feel that way. But here's the thing. For everyday users like you and me, the Boytown situation, it's actually a great lesson. Yeah. It's a great lesson in understanding how online privacy and anonymity really work, the nuances.
Okay, I'm listening.
So think of it this way. If you're using Tor to check your email,
Right.
browse some news sites, maybe even access content that might be censored where you live,
Right, right.
the chances of you becoming like a high priority target for law enforcement are pretty slim.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not like we're, running massive illegal marketplaces over here.
Exactly. What this case really shows us is that Tor, well, it's not a magic invisibility cloak.
Right.
It's more like, I guess you could compare it to a VPN.
Okay.
But with those, enhanced anonymity features,
Yeah.
it gives you that extra layer of protection, especially in the situations where, privacy is really, really important.
Okay.
But like any tool, it's got its limitations, right?
Right.
And if you're doing things that are going to attract unwanted attention, well, no tool can guarantee you're going to stay completely anonymous.
So the takeaway here isn't ditch Tor. It's more like understand what Tor can actually do.
Exactly. Tor is still a really valuable tool,
Yeah.
especially for, journalists, activists, anyone living in a place where, online freedom is restricted.
Right? Yeah.
And it can be useful even for just everyday users who, maybe just don't want their every move tracked online.
Right. So after this deep dive into Tor and this whole boy town takedown, what's the big takeaway for, for us, the non-criminals, the everyday people just trying to, stay safe and protect our privacy online?
I think it reminds us that online privacy and security, it's a constantly changing landscape.
Mm.
What works today might not work tomorrow.
Right.
And there's no one tool that's 100% foolproof.
Right. So we've always got to be learning and adapting.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. We journeyed into the depths of the dark web, explored the hidden layers of Tor, and hopefully emerged with a better understanding of what online privacy really means in this digital age. And remember, as always, we've got links to all the sources we used in the show notes, so keep exploring, stay curious, and until next time, stay safe out there.